Hey guys, welcome back. It's Jen. Today I'm going to share with you my 5 secrets to carving cakes. It doesn't matter what shape you're carving your cake into, dome, sphere, heart, dog, pumpkin. These 5 secrets can be applied to it. I remember when I first started decorating cakes, I really avoided having to shape any cake for a while. I was just really intimidated by it. But I remember when I finally took the plunge, I was so glad that I finally did it and wish I would have done it sooner. It's really not that big of a deal if you follow these secrets. You'll be a master edible sculptor in no time. Here's a list of tools I use to carve cakes if you want to take a quick screenshot of this. I'm not going to make you wait any longer for secret number 1. I hate when videos do that to you. It's like, just give me the first secret at least. Okay, secret number 1 is to have the right cake. If you're trying to carve a super delicate cake, it will fall apart on you when you try to carve it. If this is your first time carving a cake, I recommend my cake recipes for carving. They're strong and delicious. The pores are just closer together, so when you go to carve it, it doesn't all fall apart. But it's not any less flavorful, moist, and tender. If you have a favorite cake recipe you really want to use, just test it out first. As far as sizing, just figure out the widest part of your shape. If this is your first time carving a cake, I would make all the cake layers that same biggest size. You just don't need the hassle that first time of that extra confusion. It's nice to just be able to look at a big solid block of cake. You'll have a lot of scraps, but they make perfect cake pops. So I just freeze it until I'm ready to make them. Or you can donate your delicious scraps to your friends and family to munch on. Alright, let's start stacking those layers. When I'm sculpting a cake, I like to stack my cake layers with the light colored side up because there's usually just a little ridge that helps hold the buttercream in. It just keeps it less messy when you're carving it. Remember to push and twist down on each cake layer so you get the air bubbles out of your buttercream. Make sure you don't put too much buttercream between each layer so they're not sliding around as you're carving them. Speaking of that, secret number 2. If you go beyond 3 layers of cake, you need to add some support so your cake can handle the additional layers you're going to put on your cake, so your cake doesn't turn into the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I like to use boba straws or milkshake straws as my support. So the rule of thumb is you have the amount of straws that matches the size of the cake layer you're going to put on top. The rule of thumb is for every inch you add a straw. So if your cake is a 6-inch round, you need 6 straws. 8-inch round, you need 8 straws. You put 1 straw in the middle and the rest of them around in a circle, just a little bit inward from the edge of the cake you're about to put on top. Just push the straws down all the way through the cake, mark it with your finger, pull it up a little bit and cut it there and push a straw back in. Now I only did 3 straws on this one because I'm going to be carving off a lot of the cake on top, so there's not going to be a lot of weight. And since I'm going to be carving the cake where I'm putting the straws in, I don't want to end up running into those straws. That would be a problem. Just make sure your cake layers are level before you stick the straws in. Now these straws are really going to help you with carving because it's really going to hold your cake together so it's not sliding around while you carve it, which is awesome. Again, speaking of that, that brings us to secret number 3. Chill the cake. After we're done stacking our cake layers, we're going to chill our cake in the refrigerator because when the buttercream is cold, it's going to be less slippery when you're carving. And the cold cake is a little bit tougher too while we're carving into it. We want to chill it for the least amount of time that we need though, because chilling cakes dries them out when they're not crumb coated yet, which this cake is not. The brown caramelization around the cake layers will help protect it from drying out. And this is why on the top layer, I put the light side down, so the caramelized side of the cake layer is up. It'll also be easier to carve this way because it's nice and smooth and flat. Make sure your cake is level before you put it in the refrigerator. I personally use a clean level, but it's not necessary. You can just eyeball it. 30 minutes should do the trick in the refrigerator, but use your judgment. Try not to go too much longer than this because again, we don't want to dry out our cake. All right, our cake is chilled. It's time to start carving, which brings me to secret number 4. Carve small amounts at a time. This is a lesson you probably learned a long time ago. When you cut your bangs when they were wet and pressed against your forehead. So when your bangs dried, you were left with spiked hair. And from then on, you've learned, let's make some little cuts at a time, because we can't grow the hair back. Not quickly anyways. It's the same idea with the cake. It's hard to put the cake back on. Also, we use a bread knife because it has that nice serrated edge, because we want to carve our cake using those nice little sawing motions. These nice little back and forth sawing motions work well because they don't put a lot of pressure on the cake. Most of us have drawn at some point in our life, at least when we were kids. So we're more used to creating two-dimensional things. When you carve a cake, you're making something three-dimensional. So the trick is to try and think of this first two-dimensionally. So this cake that I'm carving, I'm actually carving into a Mickey Mouse Squishmallow, which is basically a big, fat, stuffed animal. So if you have the actual item you're going to carve, look at it from the front and back, and then look at it from the side. If you have the item that you're going to shape your cake into, take a picture of it from the front and the side. Here's my Mickey Mouse mugshot. Hey, don't judge. People get a little crazy when It's a Small World is closed, and they came all that way. Mickey was strictly defending himself and was dropped of all the charges. By taking a picture of your item you are going to sculpt, you're essentially turning your 3D item into a 2D image. If you're going from a picture, this step is already completed for you. So look at the shape that you want from the front and the back and the sides. You can even simplify it further by tracing the outline of these images and only looking at that as your guide. So this brings us to secret number 5, which simplifies the most complicated part, which is actually creating that shape that you want. So the secret is to first carve the front and back of your cake and then the sides of your cake, just with the two-dimensional shape in mind. Once you do this, then all you have to do is meet the sides with the front and the back. And when you're meeting two shapes that already exist, it's a lot easier. It just kind of makes sense. You'll also feel a lot more comfortable having your guides there. And before you know it, you'll feel like Edward Scissorhands, just creating away, sculpting away. Make sure you mark your front and back and sides first. I do this by just cutting a X on the top of my cake. And a couple little quick tips when carving that 2D shape is to really be aware where the widest part is of the shape and have that be your starting off point. It's also helpful to divide your shape either into quarters or thirds. So you can say, oh, okay, the widest part of my cake should be about a quarter of the way up. And when I get all the way to the top of my cake, it should be about a quarter of the way in. So think of it kind of like a grid. If you're liking this video, click that thumbs up to let me know. And if you'd like to learn more cake decorating skills, how to decorate other fun sweets, and all other types of baking stuff, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you receive notifications every time I post a new video. Then when your shape is complete, you can push your crumbs in a little bit, just with your hands. You can even mold it slightly at this point as well. And finally, make sure you put that crumb coat on as soon as possible to keep your cake from drying out. Crumb coating and frosting shaped cakes can be difficult, so keep your eye out for my next video, the 6 secrets to frosting curves. I'll put links in this video description as well. Send me some pictures of the shaped cake you make. I love seeing people's creations. Congratulations, you guys now know the 5 secrets to carving cakes. Good luck carving whatever your shaped cake is. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time.